Okay, let's get started. So yesterday we were talking about like XPaths. How do we use the XPath for identifying the elements? So today we'll see there are some regular expressions that we use for identifying the elements. Okay, how do we identify the elements? I'm sharing my screen. So just to recap, so yesterday we were discussing about accessors, and I just introduced a new thing called list of web elements. Okay, so it's a new topic that we were discussing. How do we get the list of elements in case like if we have a lot of elements that we have to identify. So in that case, we will go with the list of web elements. If we want to identify only one element at a time, then we can go with the find element. Okay. So here we'll try to discuss about the regular expressions. How do we use the regular expressions? Okay. So this is for the following sibling that we have used. So preceding sibling that we were talking, and this is following sibling. Now we are going to take the same thing here, but here we are going to see the new thing. So that is nothing but we are going to use regular expression. Okay. So let me just open this notepad. So we have two things. One is like star, double dot, and a dot. Okay, three things. Okay. So we'll discuss about these things. How do we use it? Okay. So now you see, for example, I want to identify some element on the web page. I'll just go here. I'll open Amazon.in. I want to identify this particular element. Okay, search box. Then what do I do? Like right click on it, inspect element. I'll just click on this inspector, mouse over on this element. Okay, now you see there is a ID tab. Okay, so ID to this is nothing but the ID attribute, and this is type attribute, and so we want to identify some set of attributes here. Okay, so I'm not sure about like if in case I'm not sure about what is the tag name of it. Okay, so tag name would be anything, but I want to get the properties of it. How do I get this? Like I'll use a star, double slash, and directly you can give at the rate ID is equals to tab search. Okay, so oh, sorry, it should be here. See, it should be here. Sorry. So double slash star, and you can give the ID like this. Okay. So what it does is like now you see I'm not sure about what kind of ID that I'm going to use. For example, if you have, let me take another side also. So there I can show you like if you have any. See here, we'll try to identify the element, and we use the same set of XPath to identify the particular element. You see all the form groups we have here, and we have some form here. Just expand this. Yeah. So now what I'm going to do is like I'll take the form group as like okay. So I'll take the div. Here you can see form group is kind of like a element identification that I'm taking here. But I'm not sure like whether it can be a div or a label. In that case, what I do is like I'll just use double slash star and just use the tag name, sorry, attribute name. So tag name that we are ignoring. So that class. Now you see what it is doing now? It is identifying all the elements which has the attribute class is equals to group. Okay. After that again, I want to get the label. You see, I get all the labels of it. Okay. So let's try here like this. See what is happening now? See, whichever it has like a call. Okay. So it can be anything. It can be div or it can be a label. So whatever it is like, it is trying to identify. Okay. So this is the use of, this is star. Okay. Star in the sense, if you are not sure about this, okay, if you are not sure about what is the tag name of that particular element, in that case, we go with the star. Okay. So I'll show you another thing. Now I want to find out what is the immediate parent of it. Okay. So immediate parent of it. So for this, what I'm going to do is like, I'll put a single slash, then double dot, two dots. Okay. So two dots. In this case, now you see, you can use this one also, but here I have to specifically specify that. Okay. So here I have to specifically specify. If I'm not sure about what is the tag name of it, in that case, what I'm going to do is like, I'll use slash double dot. Okay. Now you can find out parent of anything here. Okay. For example, if you see, I'm going to take something which has like, okay, let me identify this particular one. Okay. So input email. Okay. So I'll take, okay. Otherwise I'll take the contents. Contents class. See how I am changing now. XPath is like just whatever we have discussed about the XPath, right? Based on that, I'm changing. Now you see. So if I say slash double dot, then what it is doing now? It is trying to identify the parent. Okay. So this contains like, we how many elements we have in this case is like, see, there are 12 elements. Okay. 12 elements slash double dot. So each element has got a parent. So that is nothing but it is showing up the parents here. Okay. So when you expand it, you can see input. Input and the class name contents is like form control. Okay. So this is child to this parent. So that is the reason why we are able to see. If I show the single dot, it is nothing but self. It is nothing but self. Okay. So self, after that, see now what it is doing is like it is trying to identify itself. Okay. So it is similar to the these things. Okay. So these are like alternates for us and shortcuts. Okay. Shortcuts in the sense that if you want to find out something. So in terms of like, if you're not sure what is a tag name, or if you want to find yourself and I'm like the element itself or parent, in that case, we can go ahead with this. Okay. So here I'll try to identify something. Okay. Placeholder. So this is the idea. I'm going to put like, okay, let's go back to this and we'll try to type something here. Okay. Because we have taken the Amazon example, right? So I'm taking the Amazon example, but I want to show it in a different sites also. Let's say I want to enter this Apple value, but here what I'm putting is like, I'm not putting anything called input, but I'm trying to enter the data and we'll try to like, okay, we'll do one thing. We highlight the element also. Highlight the element. Will take some time to open this web browser. Then what happened? It entered Apple mobiles and it is highlighting the element also. So what we have done here is like we have identified the element with the help of like a star. Okay. So just close it and see what is the output here. We are getting Apple. Okay. Now I want to highlight the parent of it. Okay. Parent of this particular element. How do I identify the parent of this particular element? Let me take the same thing here. I'm not going to enter anything, but after getting the value, I'll just try to get the parent of it. Okay. For that, we are going to use slash double dots and we'll highlight the parent of it. See what it is doing now? It's like you can see there is a one other thing which is already highlighted here. Okay, so that's a parent of it. So let's do one thing. So I'll try to identify some other element, then we can try to, yeah, I want to highlight the parent of this particular element. Okay, so here I'm going to change, what is that A? It's a tag, right? So it's not A that we have to take, sorry. We can take something, yeah, ID as like hamburger. Here it is ID. Okay, so hamburger. After that, I want to identify parent. So what is the parent of it? It is highlighting something. Okay, so let me just give something. If I say div, so it's going to, from there it will see. I mean, like it will move up. If I say div here, so what it is doing now? First we'll identify the left shift. After that, if I say slash, okay, it's now what it is doing is like it's coming down. Sorry, not up. It's coming down. Slash. It will search for that child. Okay. So now you can see that there is something which is nav shop. Okay. Let's do one thing. First, we'll try to identify the parent of it. Okay. So let me copy this and I'm going to replace here. Okay. Instead of taking the same element and trying to identify, I'm taking different element and will identify that element. Okay. Now it will highlight that all hamburger component. Still, it will enter the data here. The help of like regular expression. Then you see it is entering and it is highlighting this component. Okay, so the complete component is being highlighted. So this is how we'll be identifying the element. And if you want to identify the self, then also I'll show you. A second, sorry. Need to close this one. We'll take something for identifying self. Okay. Some today's date. Okay, I want to identify this element by itself. So here what I'm going to do is like I just remove this and I'll put text is equals to some cell. So we got it. I want to identify itself. Okay. So now you see double dot instance, it will identify the parent. Single dot is like it will identify it will identify itself. Okay. Okay, let me copy, paste it here. So copy this. Will be quick actually. We should make something as like right now you can see. See what it does. It enter data here and it is highlighting this one. It is highlighting cell also. Okay. You want to see this? You can go back and here you can see. If I click on enter, it will highlight this cell. Okay. So these are the three things, guys. Dot is like it's like self and double dot is like parent. And if you put star here, this is nothing but it's kind of like it's going to check everything. Okay. So every like complete DOM it will check. Okay. Star is like complete DOM. So it's simply we can say that it's kind of like all. Okay. Checking in all the tag names. Instead of putting the tag name directly, you can put this one and you can okay. So I will add star to that document. So I shared the document with you guys. What is that? If you want to use the star, then what is the syntax of it? It's like double slash and then that attribute equals to value. And if you want to use double dot, then what you have to do? Flash tag name. You can give the tag name also. Okay. So value. Let's say that all tag, all tags considered. Parent tag. Self. Okay, so tag name, @ attribute equals to value slash. Okay, so these are the regular expressions that we are going to use. Okay, so with the help of this regular expressions, it will identify itself. Like it will take the tag names, it will identify the parent, it will identify self. Okay, so this I'm going to share with you. So with this, we have completed our XPath identification. Okay, we discussed about how do we identify the element with the XPath, what is absolute XPath, what is relative XPath, and how do we use the tag names, what is contents, what is text, what is starts with, or what are the different accesses that we have: parent, descendant, child, self, uh, ancestor. Then we discussed about following, preceding, following sibling, preceding sibling, and then we discussed about regular expressions. Okay, so let me know if you have any doubts or if you want to cover anything more on it. And we discussed about like chain declarations also. How do we do the chain declarations? Okay, so if you have any doubts on this, please let me know. And this is very important, guys. We need to understand it. And because this is like regularly we are going to use it. Okay, so and we discussed about like how do we use this list of web elements, or how do we use this find elements? What is find elements method? What is find element? And other thing is like we discussed about conditions also, and or and not also. Okay, everything is covered as part of XPath. Okay, so please let me know if you have anything so that I can cover that. Okay, so now we are going to look into the CSS selector. Okay, so if something we are not finding it easily on XPath or any other things. Okay, so first what we do is like we try to identify the element with ID, name, class name, link text, partial link text. If these are not helping us in finding the element, then we go with the XPath. Okay, in XPath also, if it's not an alternate, but this is another way of identifying the elements. That's nothing but we are going to use the CSS selector. Okay, so we'll start with the CSS selector. I'll show you how do we write this, and we have a lot of things that we can cover as part of CSS selector. Okay, so let me just start with CSS selector. What is CSS selector? It's kind of like an identification mechanism. Okay, so first we try to identify with the ID. Okay, for example, if I'm trying to identify this element with the help of ID. Okay, so what is that ID we have? We have ID. Okay, so what I'm going to do is like ID equals to something here. If I just put this ID, here you see, so we have multiple things here. Okay, one is ID, another one is like text. So we'll try to identify with the help of like ID. If we are able to identify that with the help of ID, then what we see is like we'll see now ID is equals to else directly you can use this one. Okay, so when we say to tab, now it is like we are able to identify with, we have two elements. Okay, so in case like if you want to identify with class name, something is defined as like a class name. Okay, so if you have class directly available here, so you can put this here. You see it is able to identify with the class name directly. Okay, but what happens if you use this particular thing here? So when you have to try to identify the class name with this, there is compound class exception. Okay, because we have spaces in it. Okay, so if we have spaces in it, we should not have spaces when we are using directly by dot class name and giving the name of that particular class. Okay, so if we give it, it will throw the compound class exceptions. Okay, so if you want to see that, I'll show you in the same diagram. Okay, so we have that class identified, right? So I'll take the same thing here. Element is equal to d dot find element by dot class name. Okay, so why this is happening here? So this is very important interview question, guys. If I am the interviewer, definitely I'm going to ask like, when do you get the compound class exception? Okay, so now you see, I'll just comment this. This is basically in case of XPath, we can have this problem fixed in CSS selector. We can just use other big mechanism wherein it will not throw the compound class exception. So we got the compound class names not permitted. So this is nothing but invalid selector exception. We got this exception because we have the class name Z. We have the spaces in it. Okay. So if I use .css selector, so in terms of like if we have any spaces in it, we are going to append with dot. Okay. Before getting into CSS selector, I'm just showing like how do we address this compound class exceptions. Okay. Invalid selector or something. So we are trying to append them with dot. Now you see the difference. The element may not be visible, but it's not throwing that exception, right? Yeah, you see, we don't have any exceptions stored here. Okay, which may not be visible. Okay, so but it's still not throwing any exception. So it will say that unable to find the locator. This is different. No such element exception, but we did not get that compound class exception, right? So that is the thing. Like we can use this CSS selector and we can append those things. Okay. So I'll just remove this. This is a lengthiest thing. Let me just try to identify something which has like spaces in it. Okay. So let's take something here. This class, we have a class name nav x. This is easy because you don't have spaces in it. You have to identify such element which has class name, and within that class we have spaces. Now you see we have this logo. So this should be highlighted here, because we are not putting anything spaces in it. If you put spaces, then it's going to throw the invalid selector exception. Yeah, invalid identification. But still, you see, we are not getting that exception. That is what my actual thing that I want to discuss. Okay, class not found except like class compound class should not get that compound class exception. Right? At least it is trying to identify some element. I will see no such element exception. This is different. Okay. So, but we are not getting that compound class exception. When you say this, for example, if you use this class name, then you get the compound class exception. Space. Now you see. We can correct it though, but just I'm showing that in case if you have any class names with spaces, directly we cannot use them. So without spaces, directly we can use class name identifier. I see it's showing like compound class not permitted. So it says like invalid selector exception. Okay. So likewise, we can identify the element here with the help of like CSS selector. Okay, let's get into the CSS selector now. And I'm going to just undo everything. Okay, so I'll close this topic here. We have discussed about like how do we use this star and what is double dot and what is like this single dot. Okay, so now I'll discuss about CSS selector. Okay, we discussed about XPaths. We are going to create a new package for Selenium. CSS selector. Okay, so I'll take a piece of code from here, which is already there, so that we can save our time. I'll copy this and I'm going to create a new class called CSS selector. Selenium versus selector. Okay. So in CSS selector, so what we have is like we can identify the element with the help of like ID, okay, and class name. Okay. So in case if you want to identify the element with the help of ID, then what we do is like we are going to use hash. Hash is a symbol that will help you to identify the elements with the help of ID. For example, if I want to identify this particular search box because we have this ID here. So what we do is like just put a hash and they give the ID name. So here you see it is just identifying. Okay. So how do we identify the element now? Through the script. We'll see now. The element is equals to d dot find elements by dot CSS selector. Okay. So you have to remember CSS selector that we have to do. Give the ID name. So if you want to perform some send action keys in that. So let me take some kids toys. So here I want to highlight that. So I can make this if you want to use this particular highlight. Whatever we have used here, right? Indexes. If you want to use this directly, you can use it. But how do we use it now? It is in same package. It is in same package directly. We are using this one. If it is like it has to call from the outer package, then what we have to do? So it is asking me to use this particular thing. But here we have indexing is a class, right? So I'll take this class name, highlight web element. Okay. So element is the now it will go and call that particular name. This is not nothing but access modifiers that we use, right? So we are calling it from different class and different package because that method is public. Now it has entered this. Let me see what happened in case like null pointer exception. Okay, so we do not have that driver loaded here. Okay, so driver is not pointing to this. Let me pass the driver also. So if I say driver here, then driver B. But here in this case, you have to pass that B here. Let's go and try to execute this program. It's not finding the driver, so it is returning the null pointer exception. Now we are passing the driver, it will highlight that element. So now it is highlighting. Okay. Kids choice is the thing that we have identified and we are entering the we identified the search box and we are entering the kids choice. I'm sorry for that. See, how do we identify now? We are identifying with the help of like ID, and this ID is like just we need to put hash and give the value of that particular attribute. Okay. So this is about like ID using the ID. So let me just list down those things. Otherwise, we have documentation for that. I'll just open the documentation. CSS selectors. Okay. So first is like we are talking about like ID. So next is like class path. Okay. So see, this is what I was discussing. Class name has spaces fill with dot. Okay. So we'll identify with the help of like class name. Okay. We'll open this. We'll keep it open. We will be discussing all of these things. Okay. Now it is fine. Just I'm going to comment it like identify element with ID. So that's nothing but hash. I'll copy paste. I'll copy the same thing here. I'll paste it here with classmate. So that's nothing but dot. So by CSS selector, I'm going to use a dot. Okay. So let me take the class name, which has, like, see here, we have a class name. Okay. So I'll remove this and I'll take this complete class name. I'll put dot, then after I have a dot here, right? So now you see it is able to identify this one. Copy this. So instead of this, we are going to put this. Now I'll put something only twice. Okay. I'll clear this. After highlighting, I'll just clear. And I'm going to enter toys. Okay. So just we'll give some weight here. Red dot sleep. Sleep for 3 seconds. Then after cleaning up, wait for 3 seconds. Then you enter something. Let me put games. Now you see it entered games, right? So it was identifying the element with help of class name. Okay. How do we get the class name? Dot. And if you have a spaces in it, then we have to fill that spaces with this. Okay. So we have this document here. So you have just created a document for this. So now you can see we are using dots for that. And next we have, like, how do we use, like, for example, it is not working with the dot, if not working with any class or something, then in that case, how do we identify the element? Is like we have a simple syntax for that. Whereas we don't need to write any slashes here. Okay. Double slash, single slash, nothing is required. Tag name attribute is equals to value. Okay. Tag name attribute is equals to value. So how do we write it now? See now. Identify with tag names. Okay. So CSS selector, instead of this, what we are trying to do is, like, we are trying to identify the element with the tag name. Okay. Same element I'm going to identify and I'll write something else. Okay. Here you see what I'm going to do is, like, I'll put input. Now ID is equals to, so what is that value that we have here is, like, it's simple. You can take anything. Okay. So you want to identify with the placeholder, you can take ID we have already discussed, right? We'll take placeholder. Placeholder. This is nothing but search box. Now you see, directly go here and replace this with this. So I'll put the same thing here so that we can clean, and after that we'll enter the data. So here I'm going to cricket. First it will enter toys, games. After that it will enter cricket. But here we are identifying in a different way. Input, the tag name attribute is equals to value. Games it entered, and after it's going to enter the cricket. Okay. So likewise we can identify. And we have another thing here is, like, we can have the absolute path also. How do we define the absolute path? Is, like, for example, if you want to travel from this to this, this to this. Okay. So how do we do is, like, we are going to use give greater symbol, then give the input and whatever you want to try. Okay. ID is equals to some, or else we can go ahead with the same place folder is equals to Amazon search. Okay. Okay, so the greater than symbol that we are going to use. If, for example, if you have another, from here you want to come, this is nothing but we can say chain declaration. So from div inside div, in that div we have a input. Okay, for example, if you want to find out something, okay, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you about this. What are the other things that we can use when we are not when we are trying to identify the indirect channels also. Okay, so identify with absolute path. We put it here. Put inside this. Again, I'm going to clean up. I'll try to search something. I'm playing sand, okay? Now, first it will identify the element and enter toys, then games, then cricket, then it will enter playing sand. Okay, so playing sand. So this is nothing but it is identifying the element with help of like absolute value. Okay, so for example, I want to identify something. Here I'm going to put something called form. Okay, we have got the div here. So what is the topmost element here we have is like form. Under this first I'll just cut it. First I'll try to identify the element from the tag name form and I'm going to give the space div and after I'm going to give this element. See, what it is trying to do is like it's trying to identify the element like all the divs are there, all forms like whatever we have. For example, if you want to come from let us take the topmost element. For example, if you want to come from body space. So body, within that body, it is a child. We have like all the childs. In that all the childs, again we have like indirect child. Okay, this is not a direct child. Okay, so when you say div, where is the div? This is a div. But when I give this input, it will identify all the elements. See, all the elements of this input. And after that, if you need to identify uniquely, now you see what it is doing is like it is identifying uniquely. So this is nothing but, so greater than symbol is like immediate child, and this space, if we are putting some space here, so that is nothing but the indirect chains. Okay. I'm writing here non-absolute path. Okay, so I cannot say it's like a relative path. I'm going to say that non-absolute path. Relative path and absolute paths are related to the X paths. Okay, so absolute path also here we can identify the absolute path. Here I'm going to say that keyboard. I'll put some keyboard play. Okay, okay, we'll put some keyboard here. Now, what are we trying to do? We are trying to identify the elements. Now we have spaces here. Here, it's like direct shade, it's like indirect shade. Okay. So you got the same thing here. You can see we have starts with and see direct shade and indirect shade. If you are putting something space, that's nothing but indirect shade. So keyboard should be the last one. Cricket also it entered. Playing sand also entered. Now it will enter the keyboard. Okay. So now you see everything is like identified here. So these are the different things that we have. And next is like we'll be looking into like how do we identify the element starts with, ends with, and contents. Okay, these are the different. Before this, I'll try to explain you about and or operators also. Okay, how do we use the and or operator? So I did not write there, but I'll try to write it there. Identify element with and operator. For and operator, we need not write anything like this. So only the thing is like we can use a simple thing is like now a placeholder is like it is search and placeholder. I want to identify with both the things. Okay, input with text is equals to type and placeholder. So what is that? We missed some placeholder. Or it is identifying. I'm just trying to identify with the and operator. Okay. Now use and like this. Directly I'm going to put like this. Okay. We should have and operator here. So just I'm trying to identify with the help of like and operator. We are giving trying to identify input text is equals to, oh sorry, it is like type is equal to text. I'm sorry, it's my mistake. See, now and operators like directly we are going to use this. Okay, so we don't use anything in between this. Okay, and operator. So just we write first a tag name, like tag name, then after attribute and value, and we don't give any spaces in between. Just we have to append with the next piece of that attribute that we want to identify. Okay, now you see if I put something 1 2 3, it will not identify. It is and operator. Or is simple. Just you have to give the comma. So that is like or operator. So let's first try to identify with the and operator. Take this. Electronic. I'm just typing electronic. After keyword, it should help me to identify the element of the electronic. Okay. So let me just try to clean up this. See now it's going to identify the element with the help of like and up. And is like it's simple. Give the tag name, attribute is equals to value, and append the other attribute is equals to value. So it should be in a square brackets. So what it does is like it will go and try to identify that element, and then after it will perform the operations on it. Oh, sorry, it is here already open. I will see it enter electronics. So I can say electronics. Okay. So electronic entered in the sense that it's working. Okay. And operator is working. So let me clean out this one also. And then I'll take some other. So we'll try to identify with OR operator. Okay. OR operators like we don't have any kind of OR or AND keywords here. Okay. So just we have to use, I'll say here, concatenate attributes. Okay, so I need to add this one also and operator. And so for this, what we do, we use two tag names. Right? And here, this one is R is like we have to put comma. Okay, so let's try to use this comma and I'm going to change the Amazon dot 1234 or 131. Okay, so now also it should identify. Okay, so here I'm going to add some laptops. Okay, first it will identify with ID, class name, then tag name, subsolute path, non-absolute path, then operator. And operator or operator. Okay, so now you see first it entered, then after enter games in cricket, then sand, playing with sand keyboards, electronics, then after it will enter laptops. Finally, we'll enter the laptop. Okay, laptops. I just not enter the submit because it will take time to load that. Okay, so now you see everything is like working fine. So I'll just close it. Okay, this is all about like AND operators and OR operators. Okay, I'll just try to create other class so that it will be like easy for us to understand. The CSS selector 2 in that I will remove these things. So here we have like we'll be starting with the another example that is nothing but starts with, ends with. How do we use it? Starts with? We have to use the cap symbol. Okay, starts with is like we have to use the cap symbol. So here I'm going to change it. I'll show you how do we identify it. Okay, so here you can see. Let me take the placeholder. Okay, placeholder. After this, I'm going to use the cap symbol here. Okay, so starts with. Okay, I'm not sure like it can be Amazon and tomorrow it will be like Amazon.com and .com, .ed, anything would be changing, right? So I just want to have that search. I'll remove the dot. I will see search Amazon. So what it is doing is like search Amazon is like the text that we have. It is starting from the search. Okay, if you remove this one, so still it is able to identify. It is still it should be able to identify. But what is happening here? We don't have any starting string. Okay, for that we'll have another thing. Okay, I'll tell you how to use it. So I'll use search. See search. I'll remove this. I'll see search Amazon. So the starting string should be given. Okay, but still if we want to identify that element, we have another approach. That's nothing but contents. Okay, we'll discuss in next. So now you see I'm going to use Amazon. Search Amazon. Okay, .in is not there. So in case of XPath, we use starts with. Here in CSS, we use only cap symbol. Okay, so we use the cap symbol. It will go and enter the data. Now again, it will start from its toys. See, now it is entering its toys here. Okay. I just clean it out. Before cleaning it, I want to get the text of them. That also we can do with help of element dot inner text. Get value with the help of that value that we are going to get. What is that we have entered in that particular element? CSS value. Let me just view inner HTML. Text should retrieve the text. Okay, let me check this one. So it should be like something that I'm missing. But in case if you want to get the value of it, then what we can do is like we can use the get attribute, right? So get attribute and you can give the value. Okay, so value whatever we are trying to get that it will. But in case of CSS selector, we have to use inner HTML for that. Okay, so let me just close this one also. You see it is entered data. I'll close it. I see it's choice. We're getting that. Okay. With that, we can with the help of get attribute also we can get, and with the help of CSS selector also we can get. Okay. So yeah, this is about like starts with. We'll try to do with the ends with also. Okay. So I'll just comment this line. Just I want to show you like how do we retrieve the elements value also. So now we are going to with ends with. For ends with, we have to use the dollar. Okay. So for ends with, we have to use the dollar. For example, now I'm going to use placeholder ends with. But what is ends with? We have like in dot in, right? See. So it will come from the back, from the character back. Okay. So I'll take this one. I'll replace this. Starts with. So here I'm going to put with the ends with. Let's see what is the value that we are going to get. Okay. Here also, I'll get the value and clear it out. And after that, I'll get the value and again, I'm going to clear it out. So kids choice that we have inserted. Now I'm going to put the cycles. Okay. Say it enter the cycles also. Okay. So let me go and check. You got the values. Yes, we'll go back and we'll see. Another one is like we discussed about starts with, ends with, and we are going to discuss about like contents. Okay. So now it is very simple. Over here. Now I'm not going to give starts with or ends with, right? So directly I'm going to give search. So here placeholder and the star that we have. Okay. Star is like it will search that particular string in that attribute value. Okay, string in the within that attribute value. For example, you see we have search here. Okay, so I'm going to use. Okay, let me take Amazon, and it should be a star. Okay, now you see it is identified. Okay, let me just copy and paste it in this. Movies. This time I'm going to enter the movies. Okay, it entered the movies also. Okay, so this is how we'll be identifying the elements with the help of like this operators that we are using, like AND operator. So we have like ends with operator and contents operator. Okay, direct child, indirect child also we have discussed. Now we'll see about like siblings. How do we get the siblings? Okay, so following sibling and preceding sibling. How do we get the following and preceding sibling? For example, I want to get the preceding sibling that we have as preceding sibling, right? So just use the negation. After this, where is that negation we have in the symbol? Negation. Negation and the label. If I use the plus symbol, okay, let me just try to identify with the label here first. And if I use a plus symbol, you don't have placeholder here, right? So I'm going to use for which contains true. I'll remove this. We are able to identify. See, so following sibling we are able to see this, right? So following sibling is like this is the uh like the elder one. This one is like following sibling. So we can check this following sibling with the plus symbol. Okay. So if I give the negation should work for this. So let me check this one, guys. So why this is not working in case like following it sibling. We are able to identify this one, right? So I want to identify something in this case so that we can check if we can get this element properly or not. Okay. So let me just take this one. Yeah. So inside we have an text total deals. So for this, what I'm going to do is like A. Not we cannot use contents here. So what is that we have to use is like now HTML. Okay, let me take here. We have a nav, right? So I'll take this one. A dot nav. So we are able to identify this element. So this element is I'll try to use this class contents is equals to some nav. So all the navs we are getting here. See, it is able to identify these things. Okay. So in this case, if you want to identify the following siblings, then we can use plus A. Okay. So it will list down all the following siblings of it. So in case like if you want to identify the preceding siblings, yeah. So your preceding siblings is like it will go and identify the preceding siblings of it. Okay. Following is like just we use like following siblings we have to use plus symbol, and preceding siblings we have to use negation. Okay. So negation it will go and identify the preceding sibling. Following will have how many siblings are there? You see 33 siblings, and in case of negation we are going to have again it is showing 33 siblings, 33 siblings actually. So let me just remove this class and give the space here. So we'll try to identify it. Identify the class here. Let me take this one. Yeah, we have a name. Okay, I'll take the type, data type. This is also kind of little indent, or we can take something. I'm trying to take one element so that we can easily identify its spacing, and yeah, here we have some grid symbols. I'll take some middle one, grid 7, grid 4, 3. Okay, so let me take this 4, and it is like div, right? So how do we write it now? Div hash. If I take this one, it will show me this. Okay, so but I'm just trying to identify some elements which are div. See, following it showing one grid. Okay, one grid with it's like following it is showing the one grid. Okay, so if I can use the negation div, still showing this following, but it should show, it should like, this is following and this is like a kind of negation. When I use the negation, it's kind of like a preceding. Okay, so let me just show you in this way. So we have siblings here. So following sibling and preceding sibling. Yes, it should show this. So let me take one other thing. So I'll just try to add ID is equals to contents is equals to desktop grid. I'll remove this plus symbol. So if you see now it is showing all of these elements. Okay. So because we started with ID and it will start from the starting. Okay. So it will start from the starting. That's nothing but this is the first one, right? So it is try to identify the elements which are like, which comes as like below. So because of this reason, it's identifying all the elements in this case. Okay. So in case like if you want to have this, just give me a second, guys. I'll try to use this negation also. Negation also, it will show the 9 elements because we have like, it is starting from the start and it is showing like these are the preceding elements. Okay. So it can be like, taking from the, see now what we have done is like we use the contents here. So contents, what it does, it will go and search for that particular element which has the ID desktop grid. Okay. So after that we use plus div. In this case, what it is like, it will try to identify the following elements. Okay. So now you see it is starting from the desktop grid. Okay. If I take the negation here, it will be little confusing because negation will also start from this grid. Okay. It is trying to identify the number of elements which are preceding for the negation. Okay. Preceding is like negation. So if I take plus symbol, this is nothing but following. You can see there is like 1 to 7. Okay. 1 of 7 it is showing. But in case of preceding siblings, it will show you more. Div. If you say div, now you see. Okay. So let me just try to take this div first. This is following sibling, and these topics are like very stringent, guys, actually. Okay. So So most of the times we don't go with the CSS selector, but definitely we are going to use the XPath. Okay, so here I'm going to use, say that following siblings. If we can say that siblings, okay, not say following and siblings. We can say siblings using plus symbol. So here I'm going to I am just looking into that guide so that I can give some detailed example. System clear, and we want to some value in it, right? So movies we have looked into it, and so let's say the dresses. Let's run it and see what happens here in this case. Vehicles it has entered. Now it is going to enter movies. After that, enter. What is it doing now? It says like CSS selector element not interactable. Okay, so element not interactable because some other element it is receiving the clicks on it. So let me just, yeah. So what we have done is like I try to identify the list of elements, right? But I'm trying to perform the actions on it. Okay, so not performing the actions, but I'll take one thing so that we can list down the following elements. Whatever the elements that we have, we'll list down. For that, we are going to use list of web elements. Okay, so yesterday we looked into it, right? So I'm just showing you the list of web elements. How do we use this list of web elements? So you get the list of web elements. Now I want to just take this one. Element is not interactable in the sense these are grids actually. I'm going to these are set of exceptions, guys. Okay, we'll discuss about element not interactable, no such element exception, stale element exception, element click intercepted exception. So these are the different exceptions that we have. And do remember this exception comes when we are trying to do some actions on that particular element which is not interactable. I want to say that grid is not a text box, but we are trying to enter something into the grid. So it says like element not interactable exceptions. These are very important, guys. In an interviews, they are going to ask you, okay? So let me take a for loop here. So just I want to highlight the elements whenever I'm just getting those elements here. Okay. So W. I can't get it. We cannot do any actions on them. Just will be also hovering. Okay. So it will be faster. Just I'll take 3 seconds of time after everything. So plus operator mostly we use, guys. So we have a lot of things that we can discuss as part of CSS selector. We can get the fonts, we can get the size, we can get the everything with the help of like CSS selector. See, it is back. You can see it is highlighting. Do you see this? See, shops, everything is like border highlighted with yellow. So one thing to correct you guys, actually this negation would be helping you to traverse in both the directions. Okay, plus symbol is like following. But here it's like one debate we have in case of CSS selector is like it doesn't support the preceding siblings. Okay, so negation wouldn't support the preceding siblings, but it will be like, you know, traversing the elements. So we can use the same thing as example here. I'll show you again. I'll just close it. So here after this, what we do is like we can just clean up the things because of that particular text box. Okay, it's like it's dropping that search box, right? Everything is like shown on the screen. I'll just minimize it and try to show you. So here I'm going to put negation. Negation, it shows 9 elements. Following, it shows only 7 elements. Now we should get more elements highlighted. These are wider topics, guys. I'm trying to explain you because in interviews they may ask you from any angle. Like how do you identify the elements, following elements, singular, preceding? Tell them that we use plus symbol for that. Negation is for traversing through the parent. See, now it is highlighting at the back end. You can see now these things will be highlighted. So negation does the same thing. Okay, whichever grids comes under that particular current node, so those will be highlighted. Okay, so let me just close it. And we see that these are the texts that we have entered. And so far we have discussed about starts with, ends with, and this is nothing but contains. So how do we use the contains? We use star symbol for contains. Okay, so contains, and after that we have plus symbol. I'll just put like plus symbol and I'll put instead of comma. Comma does different thing here. Okay, if you use comma, then this is like R operator then. So don't use. I'm not going to use that one. I'll say and. Okay. And okay. So this is fine. Yes. Now there is another thing that we have to discuss, like nth of type and the nth of child and nth last and nth first. So these are the different set of methods which are available as part of CSS select. Okay. Nth of type is like if you want to identify something in case like you see we have some nth of type. For example, here I go. I'll try to identify some child here. So I'm taking this one as like div. And what is that? It was it ID or something? Let me just point again. Identify that element. CN shop. Okay. So nav X shop. Sorry. ID. So what is that? I can directly take as ID. Now you see if you want to find out the nth child of this particular element. Okay. So this is a parent and I want to find out nth child. Okay. For that, what we have to do is like nth of type and give the index of it. To identify nth of type, what is the syntax that we have to follow is like, okay, so we have to give the tag name of it. So we have a lot of things here, right? So we have to give the tag name. We are identifying this element with ID and we are putting direct child and it is nth of type. Okay. So now you see if you are going to give 5, we'll identify the 5th element. So I'm not sure, like I want to find out the last. For that, what I'm going to do is like I'm going to use last. Research syntax that we have to follow is like last of type. Sorry, there is last of type. So it is little complex. So let's see, last of type. When I use the last of type, it's going to identify the last child number. Okay, last child. First is like just you need to replace first. Okay, just you need to remember this syntax, guys. So this is very important. Okay, So if you don't remember the syntax, then it will be like no complex for us to understand. Okay. So if, for example, if you want to find any middle one, then we can go with nth of type and you can just give the index of it. So same thing work when we have like nth child. Okay. So it is like you can use nth child or nth of type. Okay. If anything like we have kind of a duplicate or like for example we have list of elements in under that we want to identify and all the list of elements will have a same tag. Okay, in that case we can go and use this one. Okay, so everything works like you can see nth of type is like it's going to identify the nth of type. It's the index 3 and child does the same thing. Okay, nth child also does the same thing. Of type we need not to use it in this case, only we have to use the child. So this is another thing is like first of type is like it will identify the first child. It's last is like last child. Few case not we'll discuss little later. First we'll go with these examples nth of type. After that we'll check nth child and first and last. Okay. So first we'll take nth of type. Okay. What is the syntax of it? What is the syntax of it? You have to give the tag name, then colon, then nth of type and give the index. Let me take this example here. I'll remove these things. I'll place this here. We'll try to identify it. Okay, so we don't enter anything here. We'll try to mouse over on it. It should highlight the third child. Okay, third item. Let us take third item. Unresolved problem. Sorry, I did not look into this. So we have to identify the element with nth of type. Okay, just putting it nth of type. I'll just write the index here. It is highlighting this best sellers. Okay, so let me take the same here. I want to highlight with first of type. We'll wait for 3 seconds, then we can. What is the syntax of it? You can see nth of type. And nth of first of type. And last of type is like it will identify last of. Pen, maybe I miss the syntax here. So let me just identify this stuff type. Only we need to give this first of type. But these are the methods, guys. Okay, so these are the methods. Yeah, now you can see Amazon Mini TV, it is highlighting. Okay, so let's do the same thing for last of type. Sorry here. It is not showing up here, so that is the reason why it is not able to see. Okay. So, but we have here when we go and try to search here, it will show. See, Kindle ebooks. Kindle ebooks are not available on this web page, which is not displayed here. Okay. So that is the reason why it's not able to identify. But if you want to find out, it will find out that particular. So otherwise, we want to get the list of them. Okay. So in that case, what we do? So we are going to take list of element. Otherwise, you can directly use this get text or something for that. Because we have that visible text, right? So for that, we are going to use get text. If it is not available, in case if you are using find elements, it will throw the exception. If it is not throwing the exception, it is there on the web page. Okay, it is there on the web page or it is available in the DOM. Okay, it is identifying actually, but it's not showing up here. Should get it. Element.get text, it should print me the value of that actually. But it is not displayed here. So that is the reason why it is not showing up. Let me just do something. But I cannot get those values here, right? So it is not displayed here. That is the reason we are not able to see highlighted element or we are not able to get the text. Okay. So now this is like last element it will find out. And the last thing that we are going to discuss is like child. Okay. So last of type, and this is like nth child. So child we have to give like this. If I give some visible thing 7. So nth child, and we are trying to get the 10th child highlighted. See, now it is like customer services is like it's located at position 7 or somewhere it's like whatever we have given. Okay, 7 is like position. It means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so likewise we are going to identify the element. So these are the different types and types, guys. And there is a one thing that we have to go and discuss about it. It's like not operator. Okay, so for not, what we do is like we go and see the syntax. What is that? Which is not this particular type. Okay, so which is like data, whatever we have this element. So this is not of type of this type, then it's going to list out. Except like it's going to exclude those things. Okay, exclude those and it's going to identify them. Let me just take this example. That we have gave this example here. You will see. So what it does is like, so let me just see how many elements are there. So which one it is ignoring? See, it is ignoring the best sellers. Okay. So let me take something which is like, indexing of now 2 we are ignoring. Now 5, if I say 5, say 1, 2, 3, 4. See, customer service, it is not highlighted. Okay. So not is like it will ignore that. Okay. Except that. So we have used not, right, in case of XPath. So not of contains our text that we don't want to highlight here. Okay. So same thing applies here also. So here I'm going to take it. So we'll take them as like list of web element. I'm going to take this one, W. I will try to see. Just closing the existing one. Okay, customer service is already, if we highlight that one, then it will be a problem for us. Let me just comment this line from starting till ending here. Now we can clearly see what is happening with this not. Otherwise, that customer service is already selected as like 7th, right? So if I take that one, so it will show you like highlighted. Enter this. Not read. What is of null? Oh, I'm sorry. It should be W here. We did not change that value here, so it should be W because we are taking the web element from this list, right? So that's nothing but web element W is equals to each and every element. Now see, except the customer service, it is highlighting everything. So that is nothing but, so it is excluding this particular element. Okay. Can take something here, kind of like 8 or something. Then I can. See, that is the reason why I just I did not put that customer service. Now you see, it is earlier we use something, right? Nth of type of nth of child. So what it is doing is like it is adding customer service. But in this case, it was excluding that. So how do we write this? Like simply we have to write not. What is the syntax of it? Identify any element and after the tag name, then use the not. Okay, not and you can give this one. Okay, not and give the next one. So for example, if you want to use so there is another thing is like here we can use the star symbol. So if tag, it will remove the tag, and it's like kind of a regular expression for here for us. And I only remember its ID. Okay, so then what I can do is like star hash ID. See now, so it's going to identify the element. Okay, star represents anything. Okay, any tag. This is also one example we'll see. So here I need to put any tag. Let's say that any tag. Represents any tag. Okay. So this is the selector CSS selectors, guys, and we discussed more. Like we discussed still a lot of things. I'm trying to put them class. What we discussed like ID, class name, attributes. How do we identify the attributes? And I showed you like contents also we can use here inside this. And that's something what here we have used it, right? So but from this we have discussed AND operator, which was not there. OR operator also starts with, ends with, content, direct child, indirect child, then siblings. So siblings is like we are talking about like still, right? So till is kind of like still we have some kind of debates over there. It will still identify the elements which are kind of like siblings. Okay, so following sibling and I said preceding siblings. Yes, it will identify preceding siblings here. But still, there are some debates. It says that it will not go to the backward directions, but it will sometimes it will go to the backward directions. So nth of type is like you want to uniquely identify the elements under this particular tag. Okay. So nth child will also do the same thing. Nth of type is like if you want to identify them. For example, we have list of elements. Under that we have some kind of, again, we have a list in that. In that case, what we do is like we are going to use nth of type. Nth of type. Under that, we can use nth of chain. Nth chain. Okay, nth of type. These are unique. For example, the tags would be like li, li, and li. So inside that each tag we have anchor tag. Okay, so a. So in this case, what we do is like nth of type. First, I'll select this one. After that, nth of child I'm going to use. I am going to identify this element. Okay, so this will help you to identify. In this case, okay. So you see now we have some UL. Okay, so UL is like the complete list. Under that, we have some. So if you want to identify the elements uniquely, for example, here we have A, here we have A, here we have A. So in this case, you can use nth of type 1. Under that nth child 3. So which one it will select? First it will go here and it will select this one. Okay. So if you have any cases like this, we can use CSS selectors to identify like this. Okay. So guys, please practice. This is very important. If you don't practice, you'll forget for sure. Because there are a lot of things that we have discussed in case of XPath and CSS selectors. So down the line, we'll be using them. Okay. So down the line, we'll be using them. And I'll show you like how to identify the background color of this particular elements. Okay. So if you have any colors here, see, this is black color and we have some set of colors here also. Okay. So here also we can identify the colors. So what is that color? So that colors will be, it's kind of like a notation for us, right? So we can use CSS selector and we can identify the elements. Okay, so I will upload this programs, guys, and please practice and let me know if you have any doubts. Okay, thanks for your time, guys. Let's meet tomorrow at same time, and tomorrow also I'll be taking a little extra class so that we can cover the other things also. Okay, so tomorrow we'll start with select classes. Okay, select classes. After that, we'll look into the actions classes. After that, we'll look into the alert. In between, I'll be discussing about like synchronization. How do we handle the synchronizations? Okay. Thanks for your time, guys. Let's meet tomorrow at same time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
So, Utkarsha, you have any doubts regarding that? Did you get to know about this declaration? How do we go?
I got it afterwards.
Okay, sure.